show up and make them stop. Wanna know my name so badly, close it, I'ma change the game.Hello，
大家好呀，欢迎来到瑶瑶的 podcast。那其实之前我们已经对最近很火的一个项目 Solayer 进行了一次采访。那这个项目的话，采访完那一位之后，还有一位创始人，我觉得一定要邀请他来参加我的 podcast， 我就会非常话题性的一位创始人吧。今天也是邀请到了 Rachel 来到我们的 podcast 里面。
Hi, my name is Rachel. Jason and I basically met up 2-3 years ago. Both of us went to Berkeley. I studied electrical engineering, and then later on I dropped out through a Thiel fellowship. And I got into crypto, I guess when back then people were still kind of just figuring out like what can you actually build on Ethereum. In 2019, 2020, that's when the first wave of DeFi really came about. And for me, the first protocol that I contributed towards was Sushi, which is a decentralized exchange initially deployed on Ethereum. I had the privilege to work with a lot of people that are extremely talented and basically really kicked off this cypherpunk type of vision and culture for the world. And DeFi was the first platform and the first use case in which you can build on a decentralized internet. And now obviously over the past couple of years, we've seen that there's more trading, there's more volume, there's more liquidity, but more importantly, there's more users actually moving away from trading off-chain, but actually trading on-chain.
So you actually contribute to the first wave of DeFi summit, right?
Yeah, I think it was initially I was just like, wow, there's Compound that was deployed. That was the first ever lending protocol. And there was obviously AMM that was first created and deployed. So these two obviously created the first building blocks of decentralized finance. One couldn't really live without another. Fully automated through smart contracts where you have liquidity providers, swappers, and you had arbitrageurs to actually make the market of a decentralized exchange. But then you also had a lending market where the supplier side, you had the borrower side, fully automated by smart contract as well, of over-collateralized lending. That was a very interesting time.
I got to know that you were still in college back then, right? And what made you to make the decision that you should just drop off from school and join the startup ASAP? And also, what's your role in Sushi Swap back then? Mm-hmm. And how do you think the experience in Sushi Swap contribute to your a new startup Solayer right now?
It was basically a very decentralized process. You kind of just get into Discord and then started kind of yapping online and started contribute and you start to just meet different people. Almost everyone who were at Sushi before contributed directly through Discord. Very interesting experience to see how decentralized governance works. Very much community-driven effort to build an exchange that was fully owned by the community. So I focused a lot on product and then expanded into basically other areas. In a small team, you just kind of do everything.
Yeah, that's true. How many people you have back then in Sushi Swap?
I think max we had about 30 people.
Oh, that's crazy. Because I was working in CEX before, so we also had this comparison, oh my god, looking at Sushi Swap or Uniswap, how small team they have and how many volume they got, the users and the thing they're doing, and then looking at the CEX. So back then I was in Bybit, the peak time we had about 3,000 people. It's kind of crazy comparing to the centralized exchange and the decentralized exchange.
For a fact, you have a lot of operations. It's more operations heavy.
Yeah, so what's the thought process that you started to do the Solayer project? Because you were basically in Ethereum ecosystem before, and now what makes you to make this decision to come to Solana and working with Jason to start a Solayer and also totally different verticals?
I guess I look at the world pretty first principles. Coming to crypto, it was very much you had a world of industry in which it concentrates power towards the bigger corporations. And crypto was built on the thesis of, okay, you have a decentralized ledger and then you distribute it across thousands of independent contributors around the world and run this internet that nobody can take down. And that in itself, is kind of why I see the why behind all of this. So basically, I think DeFi demonstrated the first use case of what you could do on this decentralized internet, but obviously there's a lot more, right? There's data, there's computation, there's AI now. You have, 8 billion people in this world. You're going to have 800 trillion agents online on the internet floating, potentially trading against each other. You basically have a very much machine-dominated industry that crawls over the world, how can you actually redistribute power back to the people? And how can you actually build a truly decentralized internet that can stream like 8K videos / movies, you can play Minecraft, you can actually trade in real time, that is completely owned by the people? And that in itself is more of a interesting problem to solve, which correlates back to how can you build the fastest internet, like decentralized internet ever. So that's kind of like how Jason and I got together, was really around, you had Solana that basically performed 7,000 TPS. You had other blockchains, EVM or SVM or Sway, that performed benchmarks of 10K TPS, for example. But if you really look at the landscape of Facebook or others, they're like talking about terabytes. They're not talking about even like gigabytes anymore. So even just one company on the internet is performing at terabytes, like you really need a different solution to scale. Coming back, I think, for the next 2025 roadmap, it's not just about software scaling. It's not about, okay, let's make a nominal change to the code base of SVM or EVM. But for us, it's really about, there's a life cycle of a blockchain, and how can you offload different life cycle or components of the life cycle onto chips, onto programmable chips or programmable hardware. Like that in itself is quite an endeavor, but I think is probably the next leap towards real scaling in crypto, basically.
You been through the DeFi timer and you see a lot of use cases, and now you also it's two different cycles, and we do see user coming more towards a decentralized world and more trading happen on chain. But definitely, I think even Solana has a good performance already, but it doesn't really support the real world use cases or providing that's 100% user experience. So that's why Solayer started from doing the endogenous AWS to provide a scaling solution to Solana. Afterwards, I think different products just coming out from the Solayer team. That's quite impressive, because I think you have a very small team, right? How many people you have in Solayer right now?
We have about 15 people.
Oh my god. Are you serious? 15 people? Because I think you guys are shaping very fast, and also you have delivered so many different products, like the restaking first, and then you also get your stable coin as USD, and also supporting different CX or whatever for the LST launching, and now just to transfer to what you mentioned, the hardware acceleration. Can you share a little bit more about their team background with us? Because I heard most of the team members are coming from Berkeley, right?
Yeah, so I guess most of us came from Berkeley. I guess the background of the engineering team / the team itself is very much focused on security and systems, or distributed systems specifically. For example, Jason, prior to this, he invented one of the patents around hardened derivation, or efficient hardened derivation on MPC, multi-party computation. There's one funny thing I remember from the call, was one engineer said that he was working on a core infrastructure of a distributed system at Microsoft, and if they ever fuck up one small component of the system, then the stock of Microsoft actually drops. A lot of engineers very much comes from MEV backgrounds, also invented fuzzing techniques, which is also a very much known MEV technique that's been adopted across different other firms, mostly security / system engineers. I think we talked about it in one of the tweets. Basically, you have system engineers that design systems, and you have security engineers that basically hack through your system. Why hack them? They have to understand your system, they have to attack your system, and they have to reverse attack your system. So in a lot of ways, security engineers are actually probably the best engineers you can find in terms of system.
Especially when you are building this a blockchain itself and to supporting so many customers. Firstly, it's about security, and also people are working in security, they must know different things how to protect users and with the best techniques. By the way, I know that you are 23, right? I'm just curious, a question, what's the average age of your teams? Because this year, especially this cycle, we have been seeing so many I would say quite genius young entrepreneurs coming in this space.
I know the youngest is also 23, and I was also shocked by that. He's 2 years old. 2 months older than me. I think it's ranging between 23 somewhere to 30 something. Yeah.
Okay, that's a quite big range. But still a very young and energetic team and coming from a strong background. So I know that you drop off from school very early and started to startups and you start your entrepreneurship. How does this change your life? What's the biggest change that entrepreneurship has brought to you compared to the kids still in the college? And what was the biggest challenge that you have encountered so far from both of your startup experience?
It wasn't necessarily a decision. It was more so I was already working. And I mean, I did indeed go to school for like 2 classes. And then I guess I sat in the class and I was really excited to learn about engineering. And then it turns out that the class was like led by a TA, which is fine. But kind of sat there and just like, wow, I'm like working with engineers that are like shipping production code, holding billions of dollars. And then I'm like here sitting with a TA. I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing.
What about like after Solayer reaches the goal that you set before? Are you planning to go back to the school, or are you just feeling like you will never go back again?
So I actually tried to go back to school part-time before, at least 2 times. And then each time I've just failed over and over. But I don't know, I do study on my own. Like on Saturdays, I usually just pull up courses online and study deep learning stuff, machine learning stuff with some friends.
Yeah, I think that's also the trend, like the information, the knowledge everywhere. You don't really need to go to school to be in the school, right?
I should start like a study club or like my own university.
How do you feel like this entrepreneur experience for Solayer is different from the sushi one?
I guess for this one, you had a little bit more control, right? It is ultimately a labs company that's contributing towards the development. So it was a little bit different because sushi was deployed completely by community. So entrepreneur-wise, I think it's still very much the same. It's like very much autonomous. So on the team, across the team, we have people who have all spoken to me, like one-on-ones. And I don't do one-on-ones. It's mostly like, hey, let's like talk, let's greet. And then the 3 kind of principles that we have as a team. First is just raw intelligence, and then second is autonomy. Is not only are you able to think about an idea, but also you're able to take it fully end to end, or like having full ownership. And lastly is just like constant hustling. It is a 24-hour industry. You just gotta be hustling. Probably would add one more, which is to be first principled. That's probably the 4.
I will remember this, and then when Solayer becomes like one of the top blockchain or the startup in this like crypto world or in general in the world, then we come out and it says, okay, wait, let's forget about Amazon leadership principle. Now it's your time to talk about Solayer principles, especially the hustling part, because the teams like hustling so hard. I just think like I feel like Solayer teams is probably one of the most intelligent and efficient team that I've been seeing. I had a talk with Chas because I know he was the one who's handling the SUSD stuff. I was talking to him like, how many times you have to spend to get the SUSD out? And he's like, oh, I think it's just like 1 week stuff. And I was talking to another friend, I feel like Solayer team when they are doing the startup, it's like in Chinese, 炫技型创业. They are basically I have this skill set and I just share it out and impress other people. And yeah, really impressive because I do say from Restaking and then to stablecoin, and also you have your payment, the Solayer card, and also now you have the infinite SVM. There are a lot of pivots. So what drove this pivot? And how do you position Solayer infinite SVM? In the future, do you say Solayer infinite SVM will be in competition with Solana?
I think one thing of why we actually pushed everything we did is not necessarily to distract. It's not necessarily we pivoted. We first of all launched SUSD as Sol, hardware/software optimization of Solana mainnet with Solayer's Infinity SVM. That is more so hardware offloading of a blockchain network. And basically we're applying hardware optimization at the base infrastructure level. And on top of that, we are actually owning the entire vertical stack. So from Sol to USD to card, we basically own the entire stack of assets. When people transact, when people actually build on top of our chain. That's kind of like, how we wanted to position in the beginning, is we own the entire stack. At the base level, it's building the fastest, the most accelerated, which in a lot of ways it is through scaling, through hardware. You can basically think about, we have a base infrastructure of hardware accelerated SVM. And then on top of that, we own the entire stack of assets and also distribution.
So it's not like a separate different like products, but it's basically like a stack, but based on the fundamental is the infinite SVM. Solana, we are also having the Fire Dancer and to do the acceleration.
Yeah, so Fire Dancer, I'm very much like a longtime fan of Jump. Fire Dancer basically experiments offloading signature verification on FPGA, which is kind of like a programmable chip. You can think about that. That is not the first time that Jump has used FPGA for optimizing latency or reducing latency and optimizing network bandwidth, or bandwidth in general, because obviously they're a high frequency trading firm as core. They've deployed many other types of hardware optimization for nanosecond trading experiences. One thing that they do is using microwave signals, which the speed of light in a vacuum is the fastest, but as you move up, the speed of light in a glass is a little bit less fast than in a vacuum. So basically, they're using microwave signal to actually transmit data through glass from Asia to like Europe through hardware. I guess Fire Dancer is an experiment of, you can offload a part of a blockchain onto a chip. For us, where basically you can kind of think about the paradigm of blockchain on chip, where not only are you offloading signature verification, but also scheduling, storage, data transmission between different execution clusters onto specific components of hardware. We're just kind of looking at scaling at first principles at this point. Is that you need more compute, you need more hardware in order to actually scale in meaningful dimensions.
So it doesn't matter about like if you're in competition with anyone, either it's Solana or in Monad or whatever. But the key point is like, okay, we're using this technology, the programmable chips or the infinite SVM to really scale the blockchain itself. How do you thinking about the existing new chains like Monad and MegaX? Because they are also doing like, for example, MegaX, like I think they have this slogan like a real-time blockchain. How do you think when you comparing Solayer to them, what do you think your competitive advantages are, and why do you think like Solayer can surpass in this competition? Also, we just want to like do the technology itself, but definitely there's some competition going on.
So Mega ETH, basically there is a mega leader type of I guess architecture, which is kind of similar to what we have as well. We do have like one mega leader, which is also offloaded onto hardware, so we can process large scale ingress, performs proof of authority, a hybrid of proof of authority / proof of stake via a network of verifiers. So I guess the biggest differentiation I would say is that SVM is significantly faster and more advantageous to actually scale compared to Ethereum. For example, on EVM versus SVM, you have pessimistic concurrency control versus optimistic. In SVM environments, you're always assuming I don't know what the next transaction is going to be, so therefore I need to pre-declare the state upfront. As an analogy, it's like I'm a cashier, I'm checking out like 1 million transactions. I actually already know what the next 10 transactions will be. Whereas on EVM, you don't know. I'm just optimistically approving everybody, and there is a rollback if something's wrong. It's a lot easier to actually parallelize and achieve a lot higher concurrency on SVM environments compared to EVM. So I guess in terms of superiority, I would just, SVM is just massively more superior, and I think the results will show that the fact that the highest performant, the fastest, the metric for us is just like 1 million TPS.
1 million TPS. I remember when the 1 million TPS just came out, there's like a lot of like discussion on Twitter, like everyone was talking about.
3 weeks later, we said 16 billion.
Yeah, I do have some confidence in Solayer team. Especially, I'm really bullish on their Chinese engineers in many ways, in many different ways. You talk basically on their advantage on the technology and technique itself. What about the advantage of the team? You feeling like you're confident about?
Compared to other teams, I think in the beginning I said that team comes from mostly security backgrounds. I feel like the team is kind of just like in the basement all the time. We're just all hanging out in the basement.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to say that. One more question, then let's talking about their fundraising. Because we saw like Solayer have already received their like investment from their top tier VCs, including like Binance Labs. Just curious, what makes you to decide that you should still do a community run after you receiving like the investment from the top VCs?
I think the most important thing is we're creating a holistic category or holistic way to scale blockchain and a holistic new way of doing things. I think for us is really about how do we get early adopters and early supporters in at a place where they can actually participate in the community. So I think, the partners that we work with share very similar synergy, which is how do you connect builders to community members? The thought process is that for us, we're also selling Emerald debit card, which is again, on top of the product stack, which is also a pretty important piece in the entire sale.
What's special about Emerald debit card compared to other crypto card we have now?
First is non-custodial, so it's completely on-chain. And second, it's earning on-chain yield, which includes SUSD that's arguably a backed earning treasury, and also SSOL, which currently has the highest native SOL yield through hardware optimization. Third is that it's pretty.
I think a lot of people are talking about that, about the community sales. Like, okay, I don't care if I get the money, but I need to get that card.
Shout out to Patrick for designing some really pretty green cards.
And I think in Chinese, I do say some people translate that card into Solayer 翡翠卡. That sounds like not only pretty but very luxurious. I know like most of the team you are based in North America. So how do you thinking about this market? And also, do you have any like strategy to working on the emerging market out of the US?
I think for us, we really care about Asian community in general because we are Asian, and for me, like, I don't think I'll ever forget my roots. A lot of people say like US is actually not the best place to build crypto companies because you don't have financially disadvantaged people. But if you really go around the world and really see that there's more utility for stablecoin, there's more utility for P2P transacting and this payment system, that's really not in the US. Eventually, we do want to expand into different markets.
Because there's also a very interesting data for Solana we have. So about like 40 users in general are coming from Asia, and 70% of the total Solana liquidity are coming from the Asian background. So yes, of course we all know Binance, OKX, Bybit, everyone like Chinese. I think last year for the Hackathon projects we have like 50% of the new Hackathon participants are from Asia. So definitely it's an emerging market. A lot of things going on. When we're talking about the layer 1s or layer 2s, apart from the technology itself, the most important thing is about the ecosystem. Do you have any like plan about how to build your ecosystem? Because different ecosystem now, for example, Barra, they are focusing on DeFi, and also we have like Mega Asia, they are focusing on the consumer dApps. What about Solayer? What will be your priority when building the ecosystem?
I think for us, in the beginning, we probably want to focus more on quality instead of quantity. We don't want to deploy the same projects over and over again from EVM to SVM. And so we do want to discover new use cases. I think new use cases that require extremely high TPS and that require real-time data processing or real-time trading. I think a lot of ideas that we have so far that we're incubating, and they're completely new type of product deliveries that we don't see in Ethereum or Solana today. It won't be a lot in the beginning, but I think when we do launch, it'll be very, very interesting for people to try it out.
I cannot wait. And also, I see there's something going on with Solayer and some AI stuff. Guys on the team also pays a lot of attention to AI. How do you think about the AI and agents? And also, do you think it will become a major trend of this crypto industry?
So my thesis has always been that people need a new asset to trade on. People discovered ERC-721s, ERC-20s, and then ordinals, and then runes, and then back then it was a lot of ICOs. So you just need different types of assets to be created for people to trade on. Or in another word, like financializing them. I think AI agent is another form of life that's kind of living on chain. And our thesis, we kind of just posted now too, is that we have 8 billion people in this world, and we will have 100 trillion agents online and on the internet. You just need more computation to actually support another agent being spun up. I think we'll see a lot of interesting use cases in terms of agent-to-agent, how they transact with each other or how they interact with each other. So agent-to-agent, agent-to-human will be super interesting to me.
Totally, and also I think now it's like agent ownership is also a thing. Like people are exploring, and like your blockchain can totally solving. How do you vision yourself in 10 years? And also, how do you vision your Solayer in 10 years from now?
Well, I think we're the first network to actually offload, you can kind of see it as like blockchain on chip. I think we will set an example that this is the next era of scaling, and hopefully in that way, like, we become the fastest. I think in the blog post we actually said that 1 million TPS is the starting point, not destination. I do think another goal is because we are completely wallet agnostic with Solana. So in a lot of ways, we do want to actually scale Solana itself. There's no chain ID, there's no switching wallet. As a user, you actually don't notice any difference from transacting on Solana versus transacting on us. In short, is how do you make SVM the dominant decentralized internet by the end of the day?
I think I have a vision. It's like in 10 years, Rachel is one of the best or most successful founders, can speak Chinese. Just kidding. How do you say the difference between last cycle and this cycle?
Yeah, in 2019, 2020, the start of the DeFi summer, I do think the era was, we call it cypherpunk era. That was really, like, I think the most passionate moment for those cypherpunks that are really just passionate about decentralizing the internet. Obviously, the industry has changed. People are more or less focused on the fundamentals or the first principles of what crypto brings. For us, actually, that's kind of the culture that we want to build on top. Like, we're here for one single vision of peer-to-peer electronic cash, which is to decentralize the internet by the end of the day. 2019, 2020, there was real innovation. I think the cycle we're still trying to figure out. But we've onboarded definitely a lot more liquidity and a lot more volume into the space. But I think ultimately there is still a lot to go.
Looking forward to see what Solayer will bring to the users and bring the change to the crypto world. And I remember, like Rachel mentioned, like you are a freedom maxi. Let's bring the cyberpunk era back. And also, yeah, Jason, the scale maxi.
He's more like a scale maxi and a freedom maxi.
In the very end, Rachel, can you try to say some Chinese to the Chinese audience?
Happy Chinese New Year.
在此提醒大家，所有内容均不构成投资建议，都是我跟瑶瑶作为行业知识研究的产出，还有嘉宾的言论也是他们的个人言论，希望大家做自己的研究。
道路千万条，安全第一条，做自己的研究，让我们增强知识，然后在链上开心玩耍。欢迎关注安娜和瑶瑶 Talk， 然后我们会有更多行业一线前沿的资讯跟大家进行分享。非常感谢。